Alrighty, how's everybody today?
Good. All right. Are you ready, Leon? Go ahead.
In what year was our church started?
Okay, our church here at Christian Light, Bedford, Pennsylvania, was started in 1991. Long time ago, huh?
I wasn't even.
What did you
born
say?
then.
Like 19? Excuse me.
I'm sorry, not 91, 1981.
Oh.
Yes, that
Oh.
was 10 years old.
Was born.
That was about 1981, that was 36 years ago this year.
Yeah, and my dad's 36.
Really? Okay.
And then what did you say? My mom is 37.
1981.
Yeah, 1981. It was probably in the spring or late winter, something like that.
What is the address of our church?
Okay, the address of our church is 128 Christian Light Road.
Okay, you ready for the next one?
What is the average attendance at our church?
Okay, that one's a little bit hard to tell. But the average attendance in it varies quite a bit. But I would say is somewhere from 90 to maybe 120, somewhere in that ballpark.
With what member conference, if any, is our church affiliated?
Okay, well, that's definitely an interesting question. But, and we'll cover maybe this is on the next question a little bit, but when this church started, it was would have been a conservative Mennonite church. And then we made a change. And so today, our church would be most closely affiliated with the charity churches. I usually tell people, if they ask who we are, I usually tell them we're a charity type of church. So, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but simple answer would be we are a charity type of church.
All right, ready for the next one. From what church or location did the founding members come?
They came from Gospel Light Fellowship Church, and that was the church that started Christian Light, and then the place or the location was McVeytown, Pennsylvania. I can spell that for you if you don't know. It's MCVEY town. McVeytown, Pennsylvania.
That's fine. We'll get, if you don't quite have all the words, we can get it later. What was it, Gospel Light?
Gospel Light Fellowship.
Gospel Light Fellowship.
What was the original vision of the founding members? Why was the church started? Why was it started where it was?
Okay, so the last part of the question, I don't know for sure why it was started at Bedford, Pennsylvania. I was going to call my mom and ask her to see if she remembered. But the first part of the question, two questions I can answer. The original vision was to establish a conservative Mennonite witness in this area. So that's kind of answers both questions. The original vision, and then of course why would have been so that there's a Christian witness, a conservative Mennonite Christian witness in this community.
How has our vision changed? How is it the same?
All right, well, that's another interesting question. How has our vision changed? I would say our vision has changed from a strong Mennonite emphasis to a more general Christian emphasis. I would say that would be probably one of the most major changes. Now, that's my perspective. I suppose there would be other perspectives, but basically, in simple words, our vision has changed from a strong Mennonite emphasis to a more general Christian emphasis.
Unique.
And different from other churches with which we are affiliated, or from similar churches. Ideas. No one over age 50, few children, many single verse.
Symbols.
Everyone speaks Pennsylvania Dutch,
Associated.
with a mission or relation.
Okay. Interesting question. What makes our church unique and different? I wonder what your ideas would be.
Griffin,
What?
any ideas?
No ideas.
People over 50.
People over 50. Yeah, we have a good many over 50.
Lot of children.
Lots of children. Yeah, those are good answers. One of the things that makes our church unique, I suppose, would be a large percentage of our group is from the Amish Mennonite culture. So that's definitely unique in today's society. So a large percentage of our group is from the Amish Mennonite culture. Do you want me to wait?
Maybe just a bit.
Okay. And the second one I have is we have a lot of young people, or I'm sorry, a lot of young couples and lots of children in our church.
So basically, lots of young families.
Yeah, lots of young families, yeah. That's a good answer.
Okay, when you're ready, you can read your question.
I have one more,
Oh, you
which, yeah, one more which makes, I don't know if this would be considered unique maybe, especially from our culture, would be we have two families from Central America that are here, our congregation, one from Belize and one from Honduras, which is great.
What is important to our congregation? Ideas have a family atmosphere, provided fellowship for an organized reach city. People around us be
Involved. Can you sound it out?
involved in short term or long term mission work.
Okay, great, that's a good question. And what is important to our congregation? I would say, from my point of view, the overarching or the goal would be to be a faithful representation of the bride of Christ. Or you could put down a faithful witness of the bride of Christ. Ready for the next one? Another thing that's important for our congregation is to make a difference in the local culture. And then number 3 is to provide a healthy or a safe place for our children. That is something that is important for us as a congregation.
What are 5 to 8 of the most important events that have shape the history of our church? Your church going from changes in membership, addition church begun
Remember?
disaster that entire church.
All right. Covers quite a wide range of things. And these are some of the things that came to my mind. And I don't have exact dates. I have the year at least very close. So, yeah, I'm not sure on the month and the date, but in 1984, I'm going to write that down, we had a bishop ordination, and the man that was ordained was Abner Kaufman. How many of you know Abner Kaufman? All three know him. So he was very influential, and probably formed this congregation in many ways into what it is today. And that date I wasn't quite sure. I think it had to have been close there. The church was started in 1981, and then he wasn't the bishop right away, but probably within 2 or 3 years maybe or so. Okay, so the next one would have been a major event that happened here was in 1990, which there were probably, I can't remember how many families that moved from Bedford, Pennsylvania, which is here, to Madison, New York to start a new church. And that left a big hole in this congregation. So I would say probably roughly 6 or 7 families, somewhere around there. And again, the year was 1990. And we started a church outreach in Madison, New York. 5. In 2000, the year 2000, this church house was finished. Probably all of you know that where you have school now is where our church house, maybe you don't, used to be. That used to be our old church house. And then about in 2000, we got this church, which was a great blessing because that one was a little bit small for us.
Remember I told you guys yesterday what we did for fellowship dinner? I don't remember a whole lot. I remember more from this church house, but I remember a few things from over there. It was so packed, we had to sit in the classrooms and walk around. I remember walking around the outside and filing in to get food and then going back out. In your classroom. And we had benches along the side, I remember sitting with Dad a couple times.
That's true.
And
it was very
another fun story, I remember some of the youth girls used to sit along the side, and I remember sitting there listening to them singing and picking out the voices that I wished I could have when I was big. One was Anna Joy, was Abner Kaufman's daughter. I just thought she had a beautiful voice. I wanted to have a voice like that when I was big. Not sure if it happened, but.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So then in 2005, this was, it mentions there about deaths, I think. That's the definition of death. In that year was a hard year because we had 2 young men that died. Young men, you would probably think they're old, but one was Rudy Hostetler and the other one was Paul Bender, which would be, you probably know Rachel's husband Paul, and then Mina's husband Rudy passed away. That was 2005. That was a major impact for that year. And I missed one in chronological order there, 1995 and 96. Well, we had a major conflict between our church and our other churches and Mennonite affiliated churches. And so 1995 to 1996, there was, you can just write down, there was a major conflict over the excommunication issue. And of course that impacted us very much.
Can you explain a little bit what excommunication is?
Yeah. Basically what happens, and different people will give you different answers. But when somebody's excommunicated from the church, in other words, they have to first be a member of church, right? So they're a member of the church, and then they might, and this all goes back to 1 Corinthians chapter 5, I think it is. And so they fall into sin maybe, or they do something bad. And so what happens is the church will cancel their membership. And not only that, and it varies from, you ever hear of the word shunning? Like the Amish would shun people. That's part of it. So they would put them out of the church, put that person out of the church, and then they wouldn't eat with them, maybe not talk with them much, and kind of avoid them. That's what excommunication was. And again, there's different variations. But so the reason for this was the fellowship churches wanted to excommunicate everyone that goes to a charity church. And Christian Light Fellowship, and especially Abner, didn't think that was the right thing to do. So there was a lot of disagreement and a lot of controversy, and then that is in those somewhere in that time frame is when our church here at Christian Light broke away from the more conservative Mennonite church. So if that makes sense to you or not, but that's whatever.
All right, and Marissa, your question then?
What are local or domestic ministries within the United States that we support or are involved in? Briefly, what happened in each?
Okay. These are the ones I thought of. The first one I have is the Bedford County Jail. There are a couple of us that go. I shouldn't say us. I don't go into the Bedford County Jail, but there's a few of the brothers here that do, and they go in and have Bible studies. You could put down the name of the ministry would be Bedford County Jail, and the purpose for the meeting is to do Bible studies with the inmates. Okay, you ready for the next one? I have 4 total. The next one I have is, you can put down for the name of the ministry would be S, capital C, capital I, and then Somerset, which is a town, or the address is SCI Somerset, which is a state prison, and SCI stands for State Correctional Institute. Yes.
I think my uncle just went there. I forgot.
Okay, very likely, yeah.
I'm not sure.
But anyways, that's a name, and then the purpose of that is you can put down chapel services or church services. We go in there basically once a month and have church services for the inmates. You ready for the next one? The next one I have is CAM, all capital letters, which stands for Christian, what does it stand for?
Is it Christian Aid Ministry?
Christian Aid, yes. Christian Aid Ministries. I couldn't think, I'm so used to just saying CAM. Christian Aid Ministries, probably a lot of you may have heard of them. And we support them in various ways, probably financially mostly. But the purpose for that ministry would be humanitarian aid. That's a pretty big word, isn't it? HUMANITARIAN, humanitarian aid. It basically means you're giving food and clothes and water and those kinds of things to people that need it. And also, another thing that some of us have helped with in the past is to go to places where there was flooding or storms and help people clean up their mess and rebuild and things like that. Okay, got that one? And the last one I have is called Love Inc., which is love, and then INC period. And that one, I think there's still some of the youth that help with that. I'm not positive. but it would be local humanitarian aid around Bedford and maybe Everett and surrounding areas. Helping people out with furniture, and I'm not quite sure what all they provide, but things down that line.
Like stones and...
Stoves, yeah, things like that. Beds.
Not prison librarian.
Oh, yes, I missed that one. That would be another one, would be Christian Fellowship Prison Ministries, which is what we do every third Wednesday evening. You can just put down Christian CFPM. That's the initials for Christian Fellowship Prison Ministries. And I don't know if any of you come to that. Rose probably does sometimes. Andrew maybe. And we come down here in the basement and we write letters back to the inmates from all over the United States that write in asking for Bibles. You know what it's about, don't you?
Yeah.
So
We get the package.
we get the package of letters, yeah.
So basically, it provides literature.
Oh, yes, what it does is, the purpose for that one is the CFPM provides free Bibles, concordances, Bibles, couple Bible studies, study Bibles, and Bible dictionaries. Basically, Bibles and Bible study helps that are free for anybody that writes in. So that's what they do. I hope I didn't miss any. I didn't think about that one. That was definitely a good one.
Aaron, you can read your question.
What foreign missions does our church support or send missionaries to?
Okay, the ones I thought of, the first one would be CLM, Honduras, which is Christian Light. Actually, you can put Honduras, you can put in the country, but the organization is called Christian Light Missions, and that is in Honduras. That would probably be one of our most supported missions. And what's ahead? Yeah, Alan and Dolores are there. Okay. Yeah, you got a couple hands there. Great.
And help out the school.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a few from church here have been to Honduras already, helping various things there.
Is there any more?
Yes, the next one I thought of is called PCCR, all capital letters. And that stands for Plain Compassion Crisis Response. And the country would be Iraq, at least. Yeah, Iraq it's primarily Iraq. They also did some work in Pakistan, I think. And they also do some local work in the United States, at least they have, but primarily Iraq. Okay, I have one more. You ready for it? And that one would be I-58, capital I-58. And Rose probably knows quite a bit more about that than what I do. But that was in operation in Greece, country of Greece. Those were the three I have that I can think of. Hopefully I didn't miss any major ones, but I think that would probably cover pretty much our foreign involvement for the most part.
What are some interesting or important facts or stories should we know about the history of our church? Ideas, funny stories, scary stories, ways God answered prayer.
I don't have any funny stories or any scary stories, and I actually didn't have anything down for that one. I should have spent a little more time thinking about it. But we have had various ways that God has answered prayer. I can tell you, one was my wife here not too long ago. We had a prayer meeting right here, and she had an amazing touch from God. She said she could feel a warm feeling right across her heart twice, and you can't talk her out of it. So it wasn't her imagination, but it was a very clear answer to prayer and for her health.
Who are a few people from the beginning until now who shaped our church? How would you describe them?
Okay, I don't know for sure how to answer that question. I would say from the beginning, I would say Abner Kaufman. His name came up before. That would be a good one to put down. And you can describe him in different ways. And
Tells funny stories.
tells funny stories. He could answer that previous question a lot better than I could. But he was also I would call him a compassionate leader and a motivator. He would motivate people in good ways. Ready for the next one? Next one I have is Mark Miller. And he was, of course, has been a deacon here for a long time. But I would describe him as always being helpful. Ready for the next one? The next one I have is, you probably may not know, maybe you do, I don't know if any of you know or remember John Weaver. He used to live here at Bedford, and he now lives in North Carolina. But he was very helpful with financial assistance, and both when we had a debt on that church house, and then when we built this new church house, he helped us out big time with finances. So that was been a great blessing. Okay, I think that's all I have for that one.
The last question.
What are some words that we or others use to describe our congregation?
Okay. What are some words that we or others use to describe our congregation? I asked my wife what she thinks. I wasn't really sure, but a couple things that people often comment on. If you remember Johnny Miller when he was here, he commented on our singing. He thought we had good singing, so that would be one comment on our singing. And there's other people that comment on our friendliness, which is great. Of course, this would depend who you would ask. I'm sure probably get all kinds of answers. But and one more I have. I think that people have commented already on our sincerity towards God, which is a good thing. And you might have noticed I didn't mention any negative comments, so we'll just stay away from those for now. I'm sure there'll be some of those too, probably. So,
Are there any other questions you guys have for him? No questions? Carol?
did I answer your questions?
If we have any.
You have them, huh?
All right, and we're right at the end of Fed's class, so you may gather up your things. that
Just
is-
hang on a second, come over here for the video. Rose, if you come over, just stand right here and look at the video, and so I'll just talk to the camera a little bit. This is Miss Rose's classes, grades 3 through 4, right? And we had an interview today, and some questions about the history of this church, and so I enjoyed it. Hopefully all of these enjoyed it. You want to all wave to the camera? Hi and bye. Thank you.
Yes, thank you
Have
so
a
much.
good afternoon.
Goodbye.